Hi, I'm Dave Chun. I'm going to show you how to cut an OHA for length and glue the T-top on. From us, the paddle comes at 52 inches. Top is off, so you're going to have to glue it on. So I'm going to make this a 51-inch paddle. So this is the easiest way to do it. Get your tape measure, measure the paddle, check to make sure we got the right height, and this one is 52. So I want to make this a 51, so I know I need to cut 1 inch off the length of the shaft of this paddle. So I'm going to take off the top, pull my tape out, grab my pen, whoops, make sure you got the end there, marked it. And I like to kind of put a piece of masking tape around where I'm going to cut so I know what's going on. It helps me get a straighter edge. If we were in our shop, we would cut this on a chop saw with a fence and it'd be exactly right, but I'm making like homemade style here. Okay, you're going to have to clean off the finish on this paddle. You have to get down to bare wood so the top adheres when you glue it on. So what I like to do is put the top back on to make sure it fits. And then I get another piece of tape, or if that was the only piece of tape, you could use that one. And I put a mark here up in the front. And the reason I do that is because this top is scalloped. It's actually deeper over here on the edges. So if you don't really want the wood stuff to show. You can do it a couple of ways to get it down to sanded finish here. I mean, get bare wood. Is you can use a utility knife and scrape off the finish like this. I actually like this method a lot. But not everybody's real handy with a knife, and there's a chance you could cut yourself. In fact, I frequently cut myself. Or you can use like sandpaper. This is like 80 grit sandpaper. It's got an adhesive back. I put it on top of a block. It just makes it easier to sand. As you can see, I got some simple little blocks here that I use to hold the paddle. I realize you may not have that, but you're going to have to come up with some kind of rig. It's really kind of difficult to hang on to these things and work. You don't want to dust off the sawdust and stuff and make sure it's clean. You want to make sure you got the finish off of it. It's an abraded surface, otherwise the epoxy is not going to stick. Something about epoxies, just go down to the hardware store, get like the overnight setting epoxy. The 5-minute stuff works, but it's not really that super strong. You'll see the rating scales on it, like, I don't know, 25,000 pounds or something. But if you want this thing to stay on there, get the overnight stuff. The 5-minute stuff, you gotta wait like overnight anyway for it to get to full strength anyway. I've already dispensed the epoxy into my cup here. And I like using a chopstick. Mainly because I generally have a lot of chopsticks around. And that's a little bit of a Chinese joke I guess I'm making here. I am Chinese. Stir your epoxy really well. That's important. And the other thing is when you're measuring it out, measure it out so it's equal amounts. Most of them are 50-50. They're equal parts. Anyway, and I'll show you why I like using a chopstick, because it's nice and easy to get into the top. And I like being neat with this stuff. So I'm just going up around the edges here. If you stick in too much glue, all that will happen is the glue will come spooging out the sides and you got to wipe it off. And I suggest you clean it up because it's, this is an endurance sport. You don't want some kind of thing sticking down there and poking you in the hand. It also looks just better. I do this kind of regularly, so I'm kind of good with the amount there. And what you're going to do is just push it on. And got a little bit here, so I'll take it off. There's a number of ways you can line it up, but this is the way I find is the simplest. I just hold the paddle up, level between my hands, and I just sight down and look at this edge of the T-top. And I just keep turning it. And you just got to keep going back and forth until you get it. And that looks pretty good to me. The other way you can do it is if you have a flat table surface, is you can just press down like this. And when the flat part of the top hits the tabletop and the blade hits the tabletop, they'll just self-level. But this looks pretty good. And what I would do from here is, this way, just so it stays in place, is I'd get a little piece of tape and pull it down. And then when I dry it, I'm just going to carefully prop it up against something, and I'm going to glue it and dry it this way, blade to the sky. And that's how you top an oha.